Tennessee bound. About 2 hours from my destination. So I'm down here in Tennessee in the velvet season. I'm in the CWD zone, so we can use a bow and we can use rifle, either one. We have to wear orange regardless of vest and a hat. And I believe the way the rules read is I can actually shoot 3 bucks, but they can't be on the same day. I'm probably not going to shoot 3 bucks down here. Right now it is almost 9 o'clock in the morning and it's 88 degrees outside. It's going to be hot. That's the bad part about this weekend. I had really high hopes that maybe we get a cold front or something come through, and it's just not happening. It's gonna be close to 100 degrees both today and Saturday. Now Sunday it looks like we're going to get back down in the 80s, which may be a little bit of a cold front for us to get some good deer movement. But we're gonna go scouting this afternoon. Me and Patrick Rose, who's you guys saw on the Illinois hunt I did last winter, he came down there with me, and me and him became really good friends, and now come down to hunt Tennessee with him. At least gas is super cheap. Got him a bee stand. What's up? Hi, buddy.
Come on, everybody, get in. That's a bow kill. I thought that one right there was a giant when I shot him.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, so it was him, and there was like 30 deer that came out in this bean field, and I was watching him, and like far away, man, he just looked so big, and I had pictures of him. Had pictures of a deer just like him, but actually bigger, like 135 the year before. And I thought, we got that deer's picture, and he was so small bodied that he looked
bigger than
giant. So
I can see that being a problem here.
Oh yeah, so I'm watching him out in the field, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm fixing to drill this deer. This deer's so big. Well, he was out there with all these deer where they all started filtering my way down this little cove. And so I shot him, and I spined him. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get down and put another arrow in him. So when I got down there, man, I was so mad, because I don't like shooting a deer like that, because that is like a genetic, freak. 2-year-old probably deer, you know, maybe younger even. I don't know, but I'd say 2-year-old be safe around here. And I was just like, oh, I can't believe I shot that deer.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so mad. John made me take the pictures out. These are all my
holy cow,
my trophies.
Yeah, here's the big ones.
Yep. So this one here, I shot this one in Memphis. I had his picture at 2.5, 3.5. Shot him at 4.5 in this shoulder, and with a rage, and he was kind of quartering towards. So when I hit him, it hit and then went straight down. Oh. And I found blood for like 100 yards, but it wasn't a lot. And I never did get a picture of it. No, I got a picture of him that night, but never saw him again. It was December 1st, and like a piece of land, like I'd always have a big deer there, but after the first, they bred all the does, and then they were gone. So I just didn't see him anymore, never showed up, but I knew he was an 8-point that year. Next year, I had that one to hunt, watched him all summer, and shot him the week before I shot him.
Oh, so you shot those 2 deer in the same year?
Same stand, same spot, standing almost in the same exact
spot.
Dude,
this deer right here is a freak.
Yeah, he's cool looking, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, we had pictures of him. I shot him 2 days after I had my gallbladder taken out. They're like, don't lift anything over 10 pounds. And I'm like dragging him, going, okay, I'm using my back. You know, so I was like,
I'm using my back.
Yeah, I was like, I should be all right. And I think like the day before, Brandy killed her own big an 8-point and her only deer she ever killed. I'll show you it in a minute. It's downstairs. And so we shot that one, and I had the farmhand help me load that one, and then I shot this one, and like I drove the buggy up. There's like we had to drive the golf cart, so I drove it up into this into the woods and was trying to back it as close as I could. I tore a fender off of it. Anyway, it was one of my best buddies, so he didn't even care. And I got him loaded. I don't know how, because like I said, I just been ripped open. They're like, do not lift anything. I was like, shit, I got deer hunt, man. And then,
this is a stud right here.
Yeah, that's the one I killed. These two the same year, 2020. Those are the last 2 bucks I killed.
Are those both Tennessee deer?
Mm-hmm. All these are Tennessee.
Gosh, look at that thing.
Yeah, I need to score him.
Yeah,
I hadn't even put a tape on him yet.
Good
this one here scored
for reference.
Good. Yeah. Look at the bases on him and all that stuff. Ain't he cool?
Yeah, that's a cool deer.
Yep.
This is a giant too.
Yeah, he was so this one here is 137 and some change. He's actually got I think, what has he got? 14 points, I think. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
His kicker's coming back.
He's matching ones on his little.
That's
antlers.
crazy.
Yeah. And he had really not good genetics.
Well, yeah.
You can see short tines, short beams and all that. He just, aged out, and he was cool, and like I said, I had history with him. And then this deer, this was the biggest one I'd ever killed. Killed him in 2011.
Up until that guy.
Up until him, yeah. He was he scores 156.
Yeah, dude,
an eighth or something.
This thing is not doing it justice. That's
if you look at the mass, there's my finger.
And he has mass all the way up his tines too.
That's what's so crazy about him, man. His tines, they're probably like 4 inches around, almost all the way, halfway up.
Yeah.
And I think his circumference, he doesn't have a circumference over like 4 1/4 inches.
Oh, really?
Under, yeah. He's like 5 and something at the base, but it's just he carries his mass, but he's only like 13 inches inside.
Yeah.
He's only got like 20 or 21 inch beams.
Yeah, but they're cool. They sweep around.
Yep. I saw that deer in velvet with 4 other big deer, and he was in the back. And if you can imagine how massive he looked from the back in velvet, dude, he was so big. But I hunted him and shot him out of the same stand. I shot that one and that one out of.
Oh, man.
And then this is one of my last gun kill there. I shot him and him a day apart. I don't have any history of him. He's just cool looking. I thought he was a different buck that I had pictures of. And then this one here, I had history with him. I had 3 years worth of history with him. I had him at 4.5, 5.5, and shot him at 6.5.
He looks old.
Yeah, his rack never grew an inch. He is identical from day one to the last day that I killed him. And these two are just old gun kills. And that one actually, dude, I didn't think he was that big, but that one's like close to 140.
That's a big deer.
Yeah, he's close. And then this one here is like up mid to upper 130s too.
Yeah, that's a nice deer.
I didn't think that one. I started putting a tape on him. My buddy has one.
It's good mass.
Yeah, he looks really similar to that. And I started taping him out, and I was like,
oh man,
this deer's a little better.
Oh, he has good time length too, decent.
Yeah,
time
and
length.
he wraps around. His beams are, decent.
Yeah. So then that deer, that 6-pointer is cool.
You like that, don't you?
Oh man.
The first day going in, the truck read 114 degrees.
It's probably so hot and we're so sweaty she can't even tell where the scent comes from. I don't stink at all. No, neither one of this shirt is scent locked. Yeah, so I should be fine. We use our scent stuff, so I don't know why. I got an Ozonics in my pocket. Yeah, the pocket Ozonics.
With the extreme weather Tennessee had this weekend, my expectations when I went out weren't extremely high, and the trip really turned into a couple buddies having a good time and helping out a landowner a little bit with some projects. I really didn't want to bore you guys with a bunch of hunts where we didn't really see any deer at all, just a few does here and there. And I thought it would be better just to share the conversation that me and Patrick had about CWD in Tennessee and maybe get your guys' thoughts on it in the comments. Here's that conversation. So where we're hunting this weekend for the velvet hunt, it's kind of the epicenter of where CWD started in Tennessee, right, Patrick?
Right.
And my goal coming down here to hunt this, I really wanted to get someone's opinion that's a deer hunter and that was kind of greatly affected by the CWD, whether that be because of the the population of the deer decreasing, the changes in your guys' deer regulations, all that stuff. And it sounds like where the state found CWD was very close to home for you, right?
Right, yeah. Where they found it was, so the farm that I used to hunt, when they first found CWD, they put dots out on the map of where the harvests were of CWD positive animals. So where I hunted is where the dots started. Not necessarily on our farm, but very close to it. And when they really started ramping up testing after they found it, and the next year, you could see the expansion of where the dots were the most congregated, and how they, as it fanned out over a 10, 20, 30 square mile radius, I say square mile, but 30-mile radius, how the spread was. So if you had 10, let's say 100 dots here, and then at 10 miles you had 50, and then at 20 miles you had 25, and then so on to 10, and then 5, and then a dot here and there. It could show you that the more deer that are CWD positive in an area is going to be the where the outbreak began.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like, I think John was telling you when this happened, like he must have caught wind that there was deer that tested positive for CWD in Tennessee, and it was like the most any state had ever found at one time.
In an initial finding, yeah, it was when it came out, when the call came out. He knew some people. His dad used to be on a board with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, so John was kind of in the know. And so he called me that night before they released the press release the next day and said, "Hey, I got to tell you something. We got CWD. It's not only is it a few. It was 17 cases, which doesn't sound like many, but with the sample size that they had, and with that many cases in the initial finding, I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure it was the most they'd ever found on an initial finding in a sample size that size, I guess. So we had a lot of CWD positive deer unexpectedly, and they just hadn't been testing for them, and so this area was just pretty covered up.
Yeah.
We can speak too on like that season and the difference.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, as a deer hunter, what did you see and change whenever they found out that there was a problem with CWD here? Like, what was it like before and after?
So the farm that I hunted was definitely easily one of the best farms that I'd ever hunted in my life. You would see 100 deer a day. You'd see 25 to 40 deer that were bucks that were 100 to 110 inches plus. We were on a strict management program too. We really needed to kill more does, but we had a lot of does, which was probably a lot of the problem too. But you'd see a ton of deer. Mm-hmm. And the year before, you'd see browse lines on your beans way out into the field real easily. So we always ran camera surveys on the farm. We had started running like 2 years before, where we were trying to figure out. It's actually the year before we were really excited because we had 25 plus deer that were over Pope and Young, and we were trying to kind of get our deer together. So we said, this is a shooter. We're going to let these walk and get bigger. So we were all excited about that. We got all these pictures. We had a normal season that year, still seeing tons of deer in the bottoms. Then the next fall came around and we started hunting, and I had cameras out, and I mainly did the camera surveys with one of the other guys that hunted on the place. It was just a big farm, 2,600 acres. So we covered a lot of ground. That next year, I wasn't getting the pictures. Cameras, I got 4,000 pictures on in a month because we were checking them. We didn't have the cell cams back then, and I would check them monthly. Take the cards, new card in. I was getting like 300 pictures, and it was all over salt. We had like 14 or 15 mineral licks that we put them on, and the numbers of like, we didn't get the pictures. Yeah. And I said, man, something's wrong. And everybody's like, I don't know. I've still seen deer. And a lot of the guys that we hunted with, they weren't as into it as I was and didn't spend as much time on the farm. And I just kept saying, no, something's up. So fast forward season, whole farm's planted in beans, and we had a good acorn crop. normally you can sit in a stand and see, like I said before, 50, 60 deer, you know, a day, 100 deer a day.
Yeah.
Morning set, 25 to 30 deer, you know, in the woods. And I'm not seeing any deer. I'm seeing 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, there is something going on. You wouldn't see them in the beans driving in. You wouldn't see them in the bottom field. And they hadn't harvested beans, so somebody got said, well, maybe it's just because the beans are still here and they're hiding and bedding in the beans. No. And then that came out about CWD, and I was like, there's our answer.
Yeah.
That's what happened to our deer, you know, which was crazy.
Yeah. And so that happens. It's all positive. So what all changed in the regulations for Tennessee, and how do you feel like they handled all of it?
Well, we decided we weren't going to go along with the regulations Tennessee wanted to do. A, because we'd worked so hard, as a lot of people probably watching this have, on their farms or places they hunt if you're not hunting public, if you got a lease or you're in a club or whatever. Clubs are big down here in the South. But we just said, we're not going to go kill everything, which is basically they had a one-size-fits-all prescription.
You weren't like breaking the law. You just weren't going to.
No, we just weren't going to do what they wanted us to do with the basically mass eradication of our deer that we'd worked so hard to grow. Even though it's kind of counterindicative, because they say, shoot them all to save them all. We've been growing all these deer, but they're not going to live past 3 years old, is what they're telling us. Like a 4-year-old is a really old deer. So we're thinking, well, man, our standards, which are up here for shooting 4- and 5-year-old deer, we're going to have to lower them to 3. Do we really want to do that? And we're like, no, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing until we figure this thing out. So they increased the buck limit. I think that year, they didn't increase the buck limit. I think they told you, we can kill, down here in Tennessee, we can kill 3 does a day. At the time, it was 3 does a day, 2 bucks statewide.
2017 was
in 2017 or 18. I think it was 2017 or 18. I don't remember exactly. So we could kill 3 does a day, which our herd can sustain that, and you can kill 2 bucks a year. And like I said, we were managed. So Tennessee came in, they lengthened the season. Our season normally closed the first weekend in January, it was the first week. It wasn't the first, but if it would be like the 7th through the 10th, somewhere in there, it would close. Well, they kept the season open that year to the 31st. So they gave us more time to hunt, and I believe they gave us an extra deer that year. I'm not 100% sure, but that year they did. Well, the next year is when they really changed the regulations. So they created CWD zone. And what's funny is they started finding deer everywhere that were positive with CWD once they started testing. So if you had, the one thing that I don't agree with that they did is if one deer was positive in your county, you are now a CWD positive county. If you are within 10-mile radius of a CWD positive deer, because the way we did it, we put in on GPS coordinates where we killed the deer. So they knew where that deer exactly was killed. They do a 10-mile radius, and they say, okay, let's say County A, it's right here. Well, now we're going to do County B and A. They're both CWD positive counties, with this one that's this side and this side are going to be now CWD in the zone, but they're not positive. They're like a chance they might have CWD.
Yeah.
So, which is stupid to me, because one CWD deer doesn't mean you need to eradicate every single deer in that county. And that's basically what our Wildlife Association did. So now, every county in West Tennessee on this side of the river, and 2 counties on the other side of the Tennessee River. So we got the Mississippi and the Tennessee River here in West Tennessee. Everything between there is a CWD zone. Mm-hmm. And there's like 5 counties in Kentucky on the west side of the land between the lakes up there, Barkley and stuff. Yeah. They are CWD. So, and it's basically cut off by the Mississippi River and that lake. So all this swath is now CWD zone. And people still aren't following, their one-size-fits-all prescription of, hey, kill everything to save everything. Mm-hmm. What I saw on a farm was a drastic reduction in deer herd size. Yeah. And I still saw big, giant deer. Yeah. But you just didn't see them as much during the season because there wasn't as much competition.
You were saying a lot of these deer are CWD positive, big 5, 6, 7 year old.
I've got 2 that I know for sure were CWD positive. Yeah, were tested and tested positive. One was 7 or 6.5, and I believe that, and he's over there on that side. Mm-hmm. And then this one here, if you can see it, was 4.5. I believe he's 4.5. He's at least 3.5, but I believe he's 4.5. Just he was
He
huge
looks like
for
a
us.
4-year-old.
Yeah, and he was CWD positive, totally healthy, looked fine, acted normal, and they were both CWD positive.
So their pitch was their deer aren't going to live to be over 3 anyway, or right?
Well, everything the game wardens would tell us was basically that your deer have numbered days. They're going to be 3-year-old deer is going to be an old deer. Anything that makes it past is going to be an anomaly.
Yeah.
So, basically you need to start killing the deer to shrink your herd size so that it doesn't have so many places, so many deer that it can spread to that can then spread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess it makes sense to them, but it's kind of dumb because Mother Nature's Mother Nature, in my opinion. And, some of these deer, I mean, you have a 6.5-year-old in the most heavily infested place, and I killed him 2 years after, or a year after we found out we had CWD. So he lived a whole nother season with CWD, and he's probably had it because they say the bucks are the most, they have it the most. Or they're the spreaders because they breed does and they roam so much from place to place. So they really want us to kill all our bucks. It's just, I don't agree with it. And I did it first. I bought into the hype. And I thought, man, we got to kill these deer. We got to get the herd knocked down. It's just like, man, CWD's destroying it because I saw such a drastic reduction.
Yeah.
But I was still seeing big deer. Yeah. So you might not, if you get CWD, it's not the end of the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's bad, but it's not the end of the world.
Right. You don't want to have it.
No.
Yeah. It is interesting because Wisconsin was that first state that kind of went through all that, and it seemed like they made a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tennessee's doing the same thing Wisconsin wanted to do, except we haven't brought in sharpshooters. I think Wisconsin brought in sharpshooters.
Yeah, supposedly. I don't know.
I've heard that they hit. Yeah. There is a state. I think it's Wisconsin.
Probably was.
They try to just knock the deer just down in the dirt with their fed.
Yeah.
They haven't done that with us. What they've done is now they've given us incentives where if you kill a CWD positive deer and have it tested, you get another buck tag. You get 3 buck tags in West Tennessee. So now, basically you can kill unlimited amount of bucks as long as you send the glands in to have them tested.
Get tested.
And if you kill 2 does, you get another buck tag. So that's their incentive. They're trying to use the fact that you can kill more bucks so that people will kill more bucks, more does, get the herd numbers down. But the problem with that is some of these counties they're doing it in barely have any positive CWD deer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it just doesn't make sense to shoot all these healthy deer that might not have it just to shoot them and ruin years of work on a farm or management over something that you can't control and might never happen.
Yeah. It's a interesting topic and it's a tough one. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I studied that stuff when it came out, and I can talk a lot about CWD, obviously, and I'm opinionated on it. And I was opinionated one way and was very argumentative at first on the way that, no, Terry's right, we got to get this deer numbers down, blah, blah, blah. To now, after living with CWD for 5-6 years now, I don't see any changes. We're still killing big deer. Yeah. These areas don't have as many deer. And they have ebbs and flows. You might have I think basically once your herd gets to a certain number, it spreads like wildfire, knocks them back down. And so it's Mother Nature's way of keeping it, knocked down, whatever this is. Right. But that's my knocked down. But once it knocks it down, it grows back, and then maybe it gets heavy and knocks them down. We found that year we found CWD. I went squirrel hunting with a friend of mine, and in one haul we found 17 skulls. Wow. Bucks and does.
So that to you, that argument of CWD is like a conspiracy theory, and you've heard that before.
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah,
it's fake.
It's an insurance scam and cars.
To you,
government.
That's
no, that's not. It's not an insurance scam. I mean,
it's a real thing.
Are they unleashing it on these? I mean, who knows, man? I don't. Let's not go down that rabbit hole because I can do that. But no, it's if you have CWD, it's there, regardless how it got there.
And it has effect on the deer.
It definitely has effect on your herd.
Yeah.
Do you stop hunting? Which is another thing that happened is we lost a lot of hunters. There's hunters that like to go on the weekend or they want to kill one deer for some food. Those guys quit hunting and they don't come back. They like hunting, but they just want to go get a deer in the freezer. Yeah. Say I killed my buck this year and go home. Nothing wrong with that. But those guys said, I'm just done, man. It's not that big a deal. I'm going to go golf or something, And so that was bad. You know,
Yeah.
opening morning, you know, I don't know, you know, how it is where you're at, but, you know, we used to hear 20, 30 shots opening morning. You might hear 5 or 6 now.
Yeah.
So it's hurt the amount of hunters and all this. It's just like originally it's just kind of really scary.
Yeah, sure. You don't
You
know
know,
what's
they
gonna
just
go
kind of
happen.
came in and tried to scare everybody from eating it, but you know, I don't really think about it even anymore.
Yeah.
It's just here. And the farm we're hunting, I mean, there's great deer on that farm.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they're only 3.5 or just 4.5, there's 5 and 6 year old deer on that farm. So
Right.
you can still have big deer.
Yeah. Let's go hunting. Let's go to that farm.
Let's do it.